Hello YouTube, it's Michael Gallagher, the Media Preacher, back with another music review. This time I wanted to do a slightly different review. I feel like I've done a lot of reviews on like classic albums, and quite rightly so, because classic albums are classic for a reason. They're brilliantly written, they're brilliantly recorded, they've stood the test of time. But it got me thinking, wouldn't it be good to look at some new music? And because of the way that the music industry works nowadays, it's somewhat hard to discover new music, because of course back in the 60s, the 70s and the 80s there was radio play, there were commercial artists releasing into the shops, you had like the top 10, the singles chart, and of course digital music has changed the way we consume. And so while there's now perhaps more music out there than ever before, because it's possible now for pretty much anybody to release a piece of music into the world and upload it to iTunes and Spotify and all those different streaming services. It can, because there's so much, and because it's not being promoted in the same way or even consumed in the same way. I mean, you've got record collectors, people that enjoy buying physical media. They're still consuming in the old school way, which I think is the best way to consume. But a lot of people consume music now almost, they don't give it the attention that it deserves. It's disposable, perhaps even because it's so easy to get and there's so much of it. But people listen to music in the car, and that's the main place they listen to music, or on their phone while they're doing something else, not through a proper speaker system or anything. I understand listening to music on the go in the car, or using your iPod or some sort of streaming service if you're out and about, perhaps with headphones. But to actually sit down and listen to music, I don't think that's done as much as it used to be, which is a really sad thing. Because we've got computers in our pockets nowadays, presumably, and we can watch movies on those computers, or we can go on Facebook with those computers. There's a million other things to do that are competing for your attention. And perhaps that wasn't the case sort of 20 years ago. But nevertheless, there is still lots and lots of great music being released by lots and lots of new artists. And I got to thinking, wouldn't it be great if I looked at an artist that's quite new, a music that I've discovered recently and then perhaps would share with you? Because someone watching this video might think, I'll go and check that out. I like Michael's taste in music. He's done some pretty cool videos on some pretty good music, and I'd like to see what else he likes. And so I thought it would be a good idea to look at a contemporary artist, and I started wondering who I'm going to review. And there was one artist that I saw last year in Hyde Park that blew me away with his voice. Just a fantastic singing voice this guy's got. And he had a park full of what must have been 40,000 people, perhaps more, listening to him, because he was so great in the way he delivered a live vocal performance. And I'd heard some of his music prior to going to the show to see him, because I knew I was going to be seeing him in September. And in July I've been listening to his albums. He's only got 2 albums, I think, that have been properly released that can be bought. But man, these albums are both fantastic. Certainly the second one, and that's the album I really want to look at today. The artist I'm talking about even is a guy called Gregory Porter, who's an American singer essentially, almost a jazz singer. Writes these fantastic lyrics and sings them brilliantly well, and has got this absolutely stellar band behind him. He released an album last year called Take Me to the Alley. I have the CD version of it here. I don't have it on vinyl, which is a shame, but when you look at this release, you can pick up the CD version for about £3 or £4 at the minute in the supermarket. I bought it from HMV, or it was bought for me from HMV by my wife. Fantastic album, costs under £5. It was released on the 6th of May last year, and it's already under £5. Does that say something about the music industry today and how disposable we see music? All of the time, effort and money that's been put into producing this album, and it's already under £5. The problem is the vinyl's at the other end of the scale. I would like to have bought the vinyl, but the vinyl's well over £25 in HMV. And when I'm looking at £4, or £3 to £4, against £24, and the CD sounds absolutely brilliant, I'm going to go for the CD. And that's one of the things. If the record had been a tenner, a more reasonable price, then I might have bought the record. And I don't understand why the record's not really at £10 anymore, because they're being mass produced, they're being sold. Bring the price down so that we can enjoy the records a bit more on these newer albums. But no, this is a fantastic album. Gregory Porter, for those of you who haven't heard him. James, I recommended a Billy Joel album a few weeks ago, and James had emailed me and said, I checked it out on YouTube and I really enjoyed it. And I was absolutely thrilled to hear that he'd gone to discover the music that I was talking about. It's really exciting. But it made me think, my God, of course we've got this commodity called YouTube. Anybody, please go and check out Gregory Porter on YouTube. Just go and have a listen, because I think you would want to buy the album. Certainly for under £5. It's just it's a steal, absolute steal. But the tracks on this are fantastic. Gregory Porter has this brilliant voice. It's this rich, sort of creamy, soul-y baritone voice that he brings to these beautifully arranged and beautifully performed songs. And the production of both of his albums, I've got his other album here, it's called Liquid Spirit, which I also bought for about £3, which is, again, ridiculous. This is the deluxe edition. Both of the albums sound amazing, but this one, to my ear, sounds particularly good. Take Me to the Alley. I just love the space in it. You can hear every instrument so well. Sounds almost like you're sitting in the room with these really cool musicians who are just playing these really sort of laid-back, jazzy type numbers, with Gregory just coming in, as I say, with that rich, creamy baritone voice. Totally seduces you. This is perfect music for, sort of listening to on a Sunday afternoon. Or if you're feeling romantic with the person that you love, put this music on, because it'll really get you in the mood, I promise. It's just absolutely brilliant. Album starts with a track called Holding On, which is sort of a mid-tempo type thing, but it's sort of bare bones. It's just there. It's just absolutely fabulous. And then it goes into Don't Lose Your Steam, which is, again, quite sort of a mid-tempo sort of track, but you just get completely seduced by this man's voice. His vocals are so special. And then he goes on to the title track, Take Me to the Alley, which, again, is this really sort of atmospheric track that if you're just listening to it on headphones or on speakers with you, it just takes you to another place. It's just absolutely brilliant. And the whole album is of this same quality. The songs in this album are just so well written, so well performed, and so brilliantly produced. It's just a gorgeous sounding album, and I can't say enough about it. The CD package is fairly basic, but the quality of the disc is fantastic. I'm listening to it on my amplifier with the Marantz CD player. It sounds just magical. As I say, it almost sounds, especially if you're in a dark room with headphones on, like the musicians and Gregory Porter are right there in front of you performing these absolutely beautiful songs. Special mention to the piano player on this as well, because when we saw him in Hyde Park, the piano player blew me away with these sort of jazzy chords and jazzy licks he was playing. Nothing that sort of rolls over what's happening with Gregory Porter, but oh man, they're just perfect. They're just so perfect, and such great piano playing. The guy who plays the piano is a guy called Chip Crawford. I don't know that much about Chip Crawford. I know that Gregory Porter in 2004, I think, moved to New York, where he was working at a restaurant with his brother, and he met his group of musicians in that area at that time, and I think they started playing gigs together. And then in about 2010, they started to have some real success before he was signed, I think, to a smaller record label where he produced and released a couple of sort of lesser well-known albums, and then he was signed to Blue Note Records, which I think are now part of the Universal Group, where he released both the Liquid Spirit album and Take Me to the Alley. But absolutely fantastic. Don't know that much about Gregory Porter. If you do, please let me know in the comments, because I'd like to know a bit more about him. I know that he was originally an American football player, and I think he wears sort of the mask, not the mask, the hat that you see him wear, because he has some scars from injuries from American football, because it's quite a rough game. Not like playing soccer in England. But so and that's sort of his trademark. And I think it's a brilliant trademark because he's very recognisable as a result of that. It really sets him out from the crowd. And he's kind of an unlikely star, isn't he? He's sort of a middle-aged man at this stage. He's quite portly. But his talent speaks for itself, and his voice really speaks for itself. So I just wanted to try and say something about new music on the channel, and see if anybody's got some suggestions in terms of new music and artists that they love. Because it is a bit harder, I think, as I say, in this day and age, to find really good quality new music, because there's almost too much out there. It's not all great quality, and it's very disposable, which is really sad. Which reminds me of something I saw that was shared on Facebook, where it said, it was talking about not pirating music and not illegally downloading music. And it was talking about how you wouldn't think twice about going into Costa Coffee or Starbucks and paying £3-4 for a drink. Why would you not pay that money for a record where someone has put all of that love and care and time into writing it, recording it, mixing it, mastering it, producing it so that you can consume it, whether it be online or in the store somewhere? Why wouldn't you pay for that? And that's sort of it really rang a bell with me, and it resonated with me. Although I do think sometimes going onto YouTube, as I say, and just trying something out can be like listening to the radio in the old days, because you get to listen to something, try it out, know what it sounds like, and if you like it, then you'll buy it. Which is essentially what happened to me with Gregory Porter, because I listened to his stuff on YouTube originally, saw some stuff probably on television, some promotional stuff, and then wanted to hear more. So ultimately, bought the CDs. Sadly not the vinyls, because they're just too expensive. Record companies, please bring those prices down, because I think you would sell more records if you could get them nearer to the sort of £10 mark. I think putting them into that £20, £30 mark is a bit greedy. And certainly when you can get exactly the same content quite legitimately on a CD for £3 or £4. Anyway, this is me, Michael Gallagher, the Media Preacher, signing off. And if you listen to Gregory and you like him, or you hate him, then leave me some comments below, and I'll try and respond to you. Take care.